Hi guys, welcome to another monthly wrap-up slash reading journal whole Mod Podge of a video. I am so excited to be talking to you guys about the books I read this month because I honestly feel like I found some of my new favorite authors this month. The very first thing that I need to do in terms of my journal is I need to go back and do February's monthly spread. I don't know why I didn't think to do it last month. I just was so focused on doing like the January wrap-up, getting that all squared away, that I didn't think about the month ahead and the fact that I didn't have February set up. So now I'm gonna go through and just quickly do February's monthly spread because I don't know, like it's past due. I just want to get it done. So I'm gonna go through and cut this. For all like the images and paper and like stuff like that I pick, I just find pictures off of Pinterest and then I just print them. And this is just a little background paper, like little heart guy.
I know sooner or later it will come, the day that I know I'm in love. Will it feel warm and dry like a kiss in July? Will it chill down my bones? Will it cool like the snow? And I look at my window to see what the universe has in store for me. People passing by in the street will be smiling at me, 'cause they already know what it's like being in love.
Okay, it's definitely done. So this is again just my February little wrap-up page. All these cute little romancy type things. Again, all of these images are off of Pinterest. I think it came out so cute. Now that I have February, like the monthly spread done, I feel like I can actually get my thoughts together about the books. In terms of like overall stats, we have the total pages this month being 2,845. The average rating was a 4.1, which is the exact same average rating as last month. So I don't know how that ended up happening again, because I feel like I had a completely different reading experience in February than I did January. So that's a little weird. But then the book spread, like total, the amount was 6 books. Funny story. This is by Emily Henry. It's a romance, and we ended up giving it 4 stars. In this book, you are following Daphne, who is a librarian, and Miles, who works at a winery. He does like a couple odd jobs for the winery. The reason that these two know each other and have this kind of romance story going is because they have moved in together because of their exes falling in love. Daphne's ex and Miles' ex were longtime family friends. They grew up together. They've known each other forever. And that's kind of how Daphne and Miles know each other, is through their now exes. But at the time that they were dating, they thought nothing of it. They thought they were just family friends. And then it turns out that they are in love and they're breaking up with Daphne and Miles and are going to be together now, which kind of starts this whole thing going with Daphne and Miles. They are forced to live with each other because they were previously living with the exes that are now together. So it's definitely a very interesting premise. I've never read anything like it where you're falling for someone because they're your ex's new significant other's ex. Definitely interesting, and I kind of thought that it was going to be a little more messy or I don't know, like unrealistic, but it really worked out well. I feel like Emily Henry as an author is definitely someone that I want to read more from. Definitely rom-com. So if you like rom-com, you want, you know, a funny, light, I mean there was like a few like darker topics mixed in, but nothing heavy, like super heavy. I still felt lighthearted through all of the ups and downs of all those topics. So if you want something rom-com, I definitely recommend Emily Henry, and Funny Story was a really good one to start with, I feel. And then I think that we will be trying more of her books. The next book that we read after Funny Story was Spark of the Overflame by Penn Cole. This is a romantasy, a 4.5 stars for us. We really enjoyed it. In this story, you're following DM, who is a human living in a village that is super poor. So everyone around is suffering, is sick, and she's just trying to do her very best. She is a healer and works with her mother and her mother's friend, and so she's just trying to do what she can as a healer. But then her mother disappears, and she is kind of stuck figuring out what happened to her mom, trying to pick up the pieces of her family. She has a younger brother and a dad, just trying to figure out her relationship with them. The way the fantasy world works in this world is you have regular humans, and then you have descended, and descended are the gods' really problematic children. It's very separate. There's a class division. There's, you know, humans are over here, the descended are over here. I don't want to interact with you. A lot of humans don't like them, but they're forced to interact with them and forced to listen to them because the descended are in charge of them and make up like the government and the guards. We really liked it. I think this is definitely a series that I didn't see coming. I had seen seen a lot of stuff about it and heard a lot of other booktubers really liking it, but it just didn't seem like something I would enjoy. I don't know why. I think the back of the book is a little overwhelming in terms of like the description of it. So if you read the back of the book and you get a little confused about what the book is about, I really recommend trying it anyways. The next book that we read was Glow of the Everflame, which is the second book in that series, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. We gave that one again a 4.5 stars. I feel like my main issue with the series that doesn't make it a 5-star is I can't fully be into the main character. I feel like the main character, she is just so frustrating, and so it makes it hard for me to love the series to a 5-star level. I feel like if she was a little bit better, I think it would push it over to a 5-star, because I ate these books up. I was ravaging through them, going through them so quickly, and me and Sam were talking about them so much that I feel like it really does have 5-star potential. It's just the main character is so frustrating. Next book we read was Glass Sword by Victoria Aveyard, and this is what brought our average rating down to a 4.1 because we gave this book a 3.25 stars. It's a romantasy. It's hard to kind of describe it because it is the second in a story. My main issue with it was I felt like it took forever to get to the actual like umph of the story. I felt like the plot line was still being created even after we had a whole first book to do that, and so the fact that the second book felt like another first book, it was definitely very frustrating to get through. And then I kept making comments about the video that I read this book in about rebellion and everything like that, but the main issue, it kind of went on for too long. You are following them going through every single mission involved in a rebellion. I feel like it could have been done in a couple of missions, not a million of them. And I also have a really hard time with any sort of fantasy that involves newer age technology. So this book specifically, they have cameras and computer systems, and I just feel like I never am able to get fully into those types of fantasies, like urban fantasy. I just can't have fantasy powers mixed with a camera system. I don't know why, it just won't work together in my mind, which again is a personal preference. If you like urban fantasy, you probably would like this book a little bit more. Oh, the next book that we read. The next book that we read was An Ember in the Ashes by Sabata here, and I hope I'm saying that name right. Also, I haven't checked the pronunciation, which I definitely should, but that's what I'm assuming it is, but I could be wrong. I love this series. We have read the second one, which I didn't read in February. We've gotten into March, but the first book and second are just so different. It is so different than anything I've ever experienced, and I don't know how to describe it other than saying you have to read it. It's a romantasy. We gave it a 4.75 stars. And also I'm looking over here because I have everything written down. In the story, you are following Laia and Elias. It's split point of view, and eventually you do get another point of view, but in the first book, it's just Elias and Laia. Laia is a scholar, which is the lower class in this world. So they actually got taken over by the Empire a very long time ago, before like a big war, and the scholars have since become either slaves, super poor, or just overall lower class. You know, they don't really have a lot of rights, they don't get treated very well, and they're getting enslaved, they're getting taken, they're getting killed. It's just very dark, very deep, very awful. She kind of has like a weird past in terms of her parents. You don't really know the story there because she's living with her grandparents and her brother, but her brother ends up getting taken by the Empire for being involved with the resistance, the rebellion, and so she kind of gets thrown into a world that she wasn't ready for. But then on the other side, you're following Elias, and so Elias is actually at an academy, the academy for the Empire. He is the highest ranking soldier. You know, that he's a mask, which is kind of like the assassin slash special forces of the Empire, and he is just the top of the top. He is everything that you would expect from the Empire creating this soldier, but he is not a mean, awful soldier. He is super caring and super thoughtful and is really hurting and doesn't want to be a part of the Empire after all. See them meet, you see them interact, you see what's going on with the rebellion from Elias' side and what Elias is dealing with in the academy and the awful things that they have to experience. There's like a religious type of influence by these creatures called the augurs, and they can see the future and read your mind and stuff like that. That's part of the fantasy world. I definitely recommend that you look at trigger warnings for this story, for the series in general, because it's a lot of heavy stuff. I would say that this author is so brutal and cruel with what she does in these books because I am going through it. I feel awful. Like, it's definitely very violent, definitely gruesome, heartbreaking. You know, there are things that are happening even to characters that I don't like. There are characters that, you know, you don't like from the very beginning, like the second you meet them and on, like they're just the bad characters, and you still feel bad for them because they're getting put in situations where there's no other way to act but more and more evil. And I just feel like it is so dark, it's so twisted, and also surprisingly young adult. So I don't know how she managed to keep it in young adult because I feel like it is pretty borderline. But yeah, you have romance going on and stuff like that. But I highly recommend this series. I feel like it is so good and so different. So highly recommend. The last book that we read in this month was Hexed by Emily McIntyre. This is a dark romance, and I ended up giving it a 4-star. In this one specifically, again, it's a Little Mermaid correlated. You're following Vanessa, who is a worker for her gangster uncle who took her in after her mom died. She has a really bad past, and she falls for her cousin's fiance. And that's kind of all I want to say about it, because I feel like anything else gives a little too much away. But her cousin's fiance is also in like mafia gangster type world. I mean, you could assume the kind of things that they get up to in this book. It was a pretty good reading month. I definitely think that I want to try something other than romance and romantasy during this next month. I didn't realize that we were so focused on it until the month was over and I was looking back at the books we read, and I realized we did not branch out. So I think in this next month, in March, I really want to focus on other types of genres, other authors, maybe more emotional stuff, not just like romance that's making me giggle. I mean, I think A Number in the Ashes definitely was not a romance that's making me giggle. I don't know, just a little bit more that, and maybe a little break from fantasy. I feel like we've kind of been really into it, which is good. You know, I obviously want to get through our fantasy, but I feel like it's going to take a break so that I can really enjoy every single fantasy I read. But that's kind of all I have in terms of the wrap up. I think I'm going to dial in and try to finish up my reading journal, and then I'll give you guys a peek of what it looks like after.